One of the interesting, sort of quizzical things about literature is that our ability to describe one another and to describe experience goes back far further than does our ability to diagnose disease or any type of malady like that, etc. But uh, so oftentimes, what happens is something that was described in literature long ago ends up being sort of retroactively diagnosed. Probably the most famous example of this is that they think a lot of people in the Bible were actually epileptics because they would go into a trance. What is a seizure if it is not a trance like state? And we might have an example of that today with Emily Dickinson, but I want to read you, just for a better example here, some of these supposed diagnoses in the realm of literature. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion, which will appear in two different playlists here on the channel today. The poem in question is "There Is a Pain So Utter" by Emily Dickinson, and the video will appear in the poetry discussion playlist, of course, now approaching 650 videos strong, but also the Emily Dickinson playlist here on the channel. Now, for examples in literature, and I have not read Macbeth by Shakespeare, so I do not know if this is something that actually happens in that text, because I sourced this from ChatGPT. I looked for some examples, and I thought this was a pretty good one, or at least an interesting one. I don't know about its veracity again, but sometimes ChatGPT hallucinates, so ironic. But the idea that Huntington's disease was predicted in literature before being identified. Example, Macbeth, 1606, by William Shakespeare in Lady Macbeth's Involuntary Movements. Huntington's disease is a genetic disorder that causes uncontrolled movements, cognitive decline, and instability. Lady Macbeth's repetitive washing hand motion is sometimes interpreted as chorea, a key symptom. The disease wasn't scientifically described until 1872, 270 years later, by George Huntington. Schizophrenia, depicted in literature long before psychiatry. Examples: Don Quixote. That does kind of make sense, doesn't it? 1605, by Miguel de Cervantes. Delusions, hallucinations, and paranoia. So hallucinations from ChatGPT here. Example, King Lear, 1606. Two texts right by each other. Shakespeare: Lear's madness aligns with schizophrenia symptoms. Many literary characters display symptoms of schizophrenia, delusions, paranoia, and hallucinations before the term even existed. Psychiatry didn't classify schizophrenia until the late 19th century. So keep that in mind as we journey through the poem today. The poem "There Is a Pain So Utter" reads as such. There is a pain so utter, it swallows substance up, then covers the abyss with trance, so memory can step around, across, upon it, as one within a swoon, goes safely where an open eye would drop him, bone by bone. I think the natural inclination with this poem would be to try to diagnose the source of pain. What are we talking about here? Is she talking about breaking a kneecap? Is she talking about getting your cornea scratched? Is she talking about XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, do, re, mi? That, I think, is the natural inclination when going to talk about or analyze this poem. I don't think it's necessary. I think that the true testament to literature is that there are interpretations available, not diagnoses, ironically. So whatever it is to you that Emily Dickinson is talking about, or our speaker, I guess I should say, is talking about in this poem, that, hey, baby, that's good enough. Right? You've got your rhyme, you've got your reasons, you understand why you think it's that thing. But I think there is some place to start here because we have a description of something very interesting. So she's talking about pain, that it swallows substance up. So this pain is not substance. Then covers the abyss with trance. So memory can step around, across, upon it. So this pain swallows everything. We get that part. God dang it. This pain swallows everything. Okay? And then covers the abyss. So if pain has engulfed everything, all it leaves is abyss. And then the abyss is covered by trance. So that memory, so this is you, here's the abyss, memory can step around the abyss. As one within a swoon, goes safely where an open eye would drop him, bone by bone. Tell me that what we're talking about here is not dissociation, is not cognitive dissociation. Emily Dickinson is saying there is a pain so great that it swallows up the real world, kind of immediately dichotomizing that pain from the real world, saying that it is not a physical pain, it is a mental state. Then covers the abyss. The abyss is the world that has been swallowed by the pain with trance. So memory can, so I got this from Wikipedia. I know I've got great sources here, Wikipedia and ChatGPT. Everybody agrees on those. Dissociation is a concept that has been developed over time and which concerns a wide array of experiences, ranging from mild emotional detachment from the immediate surroundings, to a more severe dissociation from physical and emotional experiences, the abyss around you. The major characteristic of all dissociative phenomenon involves a detachment from reality. We talk about that in the poem, rather than a false perception of reality, as in psychosis. Emily Dickinson says nothing about creating a new world, says nothing about hallucination, says nothing about going to fantastical lands inside her mind, simply says memory can step out, around, and across it. The phenomenon are diagnosable under the DSM-5 as a group of disorders as well as a symptom of other disorders through various diagnostic tools. Its cause is believed to be related to neurobiological mechanisms, trauma, anxiety, and psychoactive drugs. Research has further related it to suggestibility and hypnosis. A lot of the conversation that you'll find around the term of dissociation has to do with childhood trauma. And an individual goes through some type of trauma as a child, something which is inescapable. And there are moments later in life where that memory is triggered. And so the individual dissociates and kind of steps out of being themselves for a while, right? Just dissociates from that pain. I don't know when this idea was really pioneered, when it was really probably the 50s, probably the 1950s, probably the behavioralists. But yeah, this seems to be Emily Dickinson catching that very thing way earlier in existence than all the way uh, presently, right? So she's describing this a very long time ago. Just one of those, perhaps one of those instances where we are getting the wisdom of literature consolidating reality into something so primal, so prime, pardon me, as a poem. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.